All righty. Now you got me self-conscious about
Yeah, I know.
already. But apparently that's how I start every podcast. So maybe that'd be our calling card. But
you got to do it.
Episode 5, Roanoke Live. Here we are, Tiff.
Yeah, episode 5. We made it this far. That means 5 months of podcast.
Dang.
Right? That's pretty awesome. What'd you say?
Are we experts yet?
I wouldn't say quite, but we'll get there. I mean, we have been recording in one go, so you guys are getting the raw footage.
You probably just jinxed it.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Make sure we're still recording.
Yeah, pretend we didn't say that.
But yeah, we got a fun episode planned for you guys. We got a special guest, Scott Stevens, at the end of the episode, so make sure you stick around for that. That was super fun talking to him. It was about the history of Roanoke radio and some fun stories about being in the industry. It was a good time.
Yeah, Scott works for iHeartRadio, and he's actually a radio personality on WYYD, and he's got his blog and all the charity stuff that he does. So we talk a little bit about that at the end of the episode. So it was really interesting. Like, it's funny, I've known Scott for a little bit, probably a year now, but I never knew like all that about radio.
Right.
Like, it's just super cool. So you guys definitely hang out and make sure you listen to the end of this because it's a really cool interview.
For sure.
But yeah, so we actually, I was going to say we're dressed up, as you guys probably see. I know some of you probably listen on Spotify, so you're not seeing this right now.
Yeah, right.
But Rob and I are dressed up. I am Santa's reindeer, and he is Santa. So, yeah, and we got the podcast studio all decorated.
Yeah,
so.
Getting in the Christmas spirit.
Yeah. So, Rob, what are your favorite Christmas memories?
Oh, man. Okay, so I think there's a lot of them. I love Christmas. I don't know how you feel about it. Are you a big Christmas gal?
Yeah, so I would say I love Christmas, but me and my family, we don't do like traditional Christmas. We typically go we go up to Snowshoe and we snowboard.
Sweet.
And I know we're going to talk about Christmas music, so I'll talk more about that later because I have a hot take on that.
Okay, all right. Can't wait for that. That's when the biz, what we call it, tease.
Yes.
But my favorite Christmas memory, we do more of a traditional. I like traditions, and it probably drives my wife crazy because I'm just like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. But I'm loving Christmas now because my kids are super into Santa. This is like prime Santa years for them. Mm-hmm. He's still at the age where I keep trying to like get like a gift, like you know how you got that one gift you get.
Oh yeah.
And he won't give it to me. So I guess that's a good thing that he doesn't really like have something he really wants, but like. Mm-hmm. It's just like all about the idea of Christmas and waking up.
Right.
But for me, the gift that sticks out, I don't know if you are a Home Alone fan. Do you know?
I love Home Alone. So I grew up watching those movies.
Yeah. Home Alone 2, the Talk Boy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So that's what I wanted. The thing where you can record your voice and it comes out in different.
That's awesome.
And that's all I wanted. And went through Christmas and it was not there. And like a spoiled brat, I was upset. Mm-hmm. But then my dad pointed out in the corner there was a little Talk Boy, and my God. I opened it and I'll never forget just how excited I was. It was just the coolest gift, and the way that he did it, where like it wasn't.
Yeah, right you had no idea. That's actually the best surprise though, because you're like let down and then you're brought right back up because you see it in the corner. That's awesome.
What about you? What's your favorite?
Yeah, I would say my favorite like Christmas memories is just getting together. I know I've talked about how big my family is because I'm Italian, so I just like getting together with everybody and seeing everybody and catching up and finding out what everybody's up to. Right. And I think personally, just with my immediate family, we always go snowboarding or skiing, so that's always fun. But as long as we make it through the days without any injuries, we're all good, which is really tough. I always come out with a bunch of bruises, like just from falling. I'm still learning. So
do you snowboard or do you ski?
Yeah, so I snowboard. I used to ski. I was raised skiing, and my parents were actually a little upset that I wanted to snowboard because they see people like falling all the time, which is true. Yeah. Like people are constantly just wrecking and nose diving down the hills. So my parents like were upset, but I mean, I'm learning. I take it very slow, so I try not to nose dive down the Black Diamond hills, you know. But.
Yeah, I have one snowboarding story. I was actually Christmas time. I went to go visit my grandparents in Pennsylvania, and I said, all I want to do is go snowboarding. We gotta go. Got up to the top of the mountain. I was like, yeah, bump this.
Yeah,
and didn't go down.
No, it's terrifying. Like standing at the top and staring down.
Too.
Yeah, well, I don't think humans are meant to like go down a hill sideways like that. Like it's just such an awkward position.
That's a good point.
Yeah, finding your footing and everything. But I would say definitely like probably snowboarding with my family is my favorite.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about the Christmas Christmas music. Me and my mom, actually, we talked about this today.
Let's hear it. This can get heated. So, we might have another podcast take that we go through. What do we have right now?
I'm very adamant that I will not listen to Christmas music, like the original Christmas music. I have to listen to either covers or, and I still haven't started even listening to Christmas music. It has to be December for me.
Really?
But yeah, so like Co Wetzel is coming out with a Christmas album, and I had just got done telling my mom that I wasn't going to listen to Christmas music because her and my dad love it. They're just obsessed. Like, you open their car doors wherever we are, and they're listening to Christmas music. They're the people that they absolutely, which I love Christmas too, but they love Christmas.
Yeah, right.
So what's your take on that?
Okay, that's interesting. So only covers. I want to dig, before I go to me, I want to dig into this a little bit.
Yeah.
So like, what's a no? Like you can't listen to like stuff from the 40s? Like,
so don't get me wrong.
Jingle Bells?
So I do
That's probably a good rule.
Yeah, I like Bing Crosby and like all that stuff, but I think my parents just growing up, they just listened to it like, give them an IV bag with Christmas music and just put it in their arm. Like, they are obsessed with Christmas music. So I just have to listen to like something a little different.
Gotcha.
So like a different take. So like anytime I guess somebody I like comes out with a Christmas album, I'm all over.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I would much rather listen to that. But I think when it gets closer to actual Christmas, I will let up on my.
Oh yeah.
My
it sounds like you might not have a choice.
No, I don't. I really don't. If I'm stuck in the car with my parents, like going snowboarding, for example, just Christmas music the whole time. My dad he loves it. He gets upset at me if I change it. So
yeah. Oh, okay. I love Christmas music. Christmas starts for me when Santa comes on the Thanksgiving parade. So I think it's like 11:59. I always try to get into it earlier every year because I always feel like it sneaks up onto me where it's over before I even started. So I'm trying to watch a Christmas movie every day. Last night we watched Polar Express.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I really like that.
It's a good one. But I love all types of Christmas music. My wife and I get in a disagreement about Mariah Carey. I don't know how you feel about that, but I play it. Who cares? You listen to it one time a year. I know it can get annoying, but she'll like say, "You got to turn this off."
Yeah.
You know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah, right? It's so funny because she like comes out of the grave just for that. She just takes over the charts. Like, she's been creeping up on #1 songs. Like, if you watch, I love watching music charts. That's like one thing that's kind of weird that I do, but she was creeping up like right as soon as Thanksgiving was over. She's creeping up, and I'm pretty sure she's probably either second or #1 right now. I haven't checked today, but
I was reading somewhere where she makes $3 million a year just with that song.
Hey, you know what? I bet that was probably the best deal she ever made of her entire career.
Right,
with that song,
recording that song. They did a movie on Apple about it. All types of stuff. But my favorite Christmas album, and this is probably a lot of nostalgia, is Jimmy Buffett's Christmas Island.
I love that. Okay, I'll listen to that. Like, I actually really like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I forgot that existed.
Yeah, we used to listen to that every year from start to end. And then when he covers the John Lennon So This Is Christmas, War Is Over, it always makes me so sad when I listen to it on Christmas, because Christmas, that it's like officially all right. Well, I guess we got a whole nother year till Christmas.
Yeah, it's so tough, but you're right. It does really sneak up.
It does, yeah.
Especially, I'm sure we're like working here too with the events. Events make our jobs go by so fast.
Right.
Like, I don't know if Rob can attest to that.
No, I completely agree.
I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the end of November already. Like, it's insane. But so maybe I should change my stance and just start listening to Christmas music with my parents.
Yeah.
But
don't let the sins of your parents
affect
your happiness. You know,
they would listen to it year round probably if they could. But yeah,
I love it.
Speaking of music, we actually have some pop culture conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Oh, hold on, we got to do our theme song. Pop goes Berglund.
That was a good one. That's the best one we've had so far. We're gonna have to like record and insert it.
Yeah. There we go. I'll get like.
There we go. You guys are getting extra today. It's your lucky day. But
a little ASMR.
Yeah. Rob, I don't know about you, but I really like conspiracy theories, and even better, pop culture ones.
Okay, so you're a big conspiracy gal.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say just like any conspiracy. I just specifically like pop culture ones because I think they're so interesting.
They are.
Yeah. These people are in the public so much, and to have like something secretive going on behind the scenes, like I just think it's interesting.
Some of them are fun, but like this first one that we have written down, it almost kind of makes me mad.
Yeah.
So the first one is nobody actually went to the moon, and if you don't think anybody went to the moon, we might have to end this podcast.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say I agree with that one. I think that's probably a comical one for me.
Yes.
I put that one in there because I actually think it's pretty funny.
Right.
people's theory on this is that they CGI'd the entire moon.
Yeah, because they had that technology.
Exactly.
In the 60s. Or they also say that the flag was waving, which they actually put a pole in the flag to make it look like it was waving.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we went to the moon, and people are like, "Why don't we go back?" Because it costs a lot of money.
It does,
and we don't really get any benefits from it. I was seeing something with Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know who that is, the astronomer guy.
Oh no, I didn't hear his take on that.
But he was like, they were like, "Why did we go to the moon?" He goes, "When we went to the moon, we discovered Earth. Like we got those pictures of what Earth looked like." I thought that was an interesting take.
No, it is.
Yeah, but we went to the moon. All right.
Yeah, so we both, Rob and I both agree on that first one. So this second one
this was a good
Rob, you go ahead.
All right, John Benet Ramsey is actually Katy Perry.
Yeah, so have you heard this?
I have seen it. I will say that the pictures are compelling.
Yeah, they're pretty compelling. Yeah. And I don't know, the whole setup for this. And if you listen, I listen to podcasts about like some stuff like this. I actually listened to one about this so I could like learn more.
Okay, all right.
I had found
Drop some knowledge on it.
Yeah, I had found it, but I didn't know like a whole lot about it. But yeah, this one's pretty crazy. And then there's also further conspiracy theories about Katy Perry in general. But
like the one where her eye twitched?
Yes,
they think
that she's either not real or she sold her soul to be famous because she just blew up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on this specific one?
Probably not true.
It'd be a little rough.
But the pictures are compelling, and I love the details. Like the podcasts are so much fun because the people put in so much effort to connect these dots.
They do.
So I'm saying debunked according to Roanoke Live. Do you agree?
I would say I'm somewhere. I'm gonna say I'm on the fence. The only reason I say that is the ransom note that they had.
Okay, all right.
Was the exact amount for the father's bonus that he had just got. That's a little strange. I mean, I don't know if that pertains to
if we're talking about the this conspiracy of like who killed her.
That's true.
Yeah, but that's something. Yeah,
there's some a little sus going on
there.
Yeah, a little sus. But I would say I'm on the fence. We'll make it fun, and I'll say I'm on the fence.
All right, this one is probably my favorite one. And I sometimes I can be an internet troll in real life, and I'll say this just to my friends and take the other side just to make them angry.
Yes,
and it's birds are not real, and they're actually spies from the government. And I'll add something to it. When you see them on the wires, the power lines, that's them charging.
No, I saw that, and that's hilarious. And this is probably one of my favorites. So many people say it, and even if it's not real, it's hilarious.
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah, like birds are pretty funny animals, but this being real would probably be the funniest conspiracy theory.
Just to be able to say the phrase "birds are not real."
Yes, birds are not real.
Smile every time.
Yeah, we should for January. We should make shirts that just say "birds are not real." That'll be our thing for dressing up for January.
We should do a clickbait and like make that the title of the podcast.
Yes, okay, I like it. Yeah, and people won't get it unless they listen. I like it. I like it a lot. But
all right, next one. Avril Lavigne was replaced by a doppelganger.
Believe.
Oh, okay.
I listened to her growing up. I was obsessed with Avril Lavigne. I still kind of am.
Okay.
But yeah,
I could see this one. Of the ones that we've been through so far, this one is probably the most believable because for me, lots of times the motivation isn't there. Where like the moon one, like Russia would have called us out by now.
Oh yeah, I think so.
But like having a pop star and something happening to her and like people still wanting to keep the money train going. It's the same thing they said for Paul McCartney too.
Oh yeah.
So I could see it. I'm probably a no, but this one won't break up the podcast.
No, not at all. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. Like, I grew up listening to her, that album. Like, I had the CD in my CD player probably, like, my entire teenage life. Like, it probably explains a lot why I am the way I am right now. But just with the rock music and all that. I just grew up on Avril Lavigne.
She's the best.
Her face, like, even growing older, her facial features, like, obviously she could have had work done. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
I don't mean to put anything out there on her, but, you know.
Yeah, this is kind of, I don't know.
You know what the saying is you're never ugly, you're just poor.
It's true. But her whole, I don't know, the demeanor change, like everything. I don't know. I believe this one.
All right.
And
we're split on this one. I like it.
Yep.
All right. The next one. The Illuminati controls every famous person's mind.
All right, at the cost of Rob and I not getting murdered after the pod.
Yeah, right. We know nothing about the Illuminati.
No, we do not. This is
never
for fun.
been here. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, moving
all
right
of our opinions. Exactly. We're not even going to talk about this one. All opinions on this is a joke.
Yeah.
None of it's real.
Yeah.
This is a game.
I'm serious. We're moving along. We
are. We don't want to get shot. All right.
Now this one I might get on board with. Taylor Swift is a twin, and that's how she stays so productive. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got to be something like that.
It makes sense.
She doesn't stop.
Yeah, Rob, you're the Swiftie. What do you think?
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. She's always. Did you see she was named the #1 global artist today?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, she's the best.
Taking over the world.
They call her Mother. That's what.
Yes, Mother. Her stardom is just absolutely insane. It's so awesome though. Like just watching it, like it's so cool seeing from where she started to where she is now. But
it's crazy.
Having a twin would probably help her out.
Yeah, it probably would.
Yeah,
that girl on TikTok that looks like her. That might.
Oh my gosh, I saw that. Well, for her to just pay someone, like it may not be like her twin, her actual blood twin, but like somebody that looks like her to step in sometimes for certain things, plausible. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. Who would turn down the money to pretend be Taylor Swift if they look so much like her, you know?
I know, right?
So.
All right, so consensus is maybe for all of these. Let's just go,
maybe.
Except for Illuminati one.
We're a hard no on that one. We have people that care about us. And no, I'm just kidding. But, all right. Well, that was good. Some pop culture conspiracy theories.
I love it.
But, so December is a fun and busy month for us over here at Berglund Center. Rob, are you excited?
I am excited. There's some good ones. It's busy. Like you said, it will be over before you know it.
It's true.
But we are event junkies, and that's why we work here. So
every
time we get to see everybody from Roanoke coming in and having fun, it's always a good time. But it is a lot of events. So, Tiffany, maybe clear your throat, get ready to go down this big long thing, but take it away.
All right, so tomorrow, which this is releasing on Friday, so that is today, if you guys are listening today, we have Josh Gates tomorrow. He is, I can't remember, is it Expedition and Discovery?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He was on Ghost Hunters too, I was reading.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. But his tour looks very awesome. I have a friend that's actually going to this.
Oh, sweet.
And he is stoked to just hear and see this guy. Apparently, he's really animated in his show.
Oh.
I've never seen his show, but he's going to be a fun one, I think, to watch on stage.
Yeah, if you're a fan, you got to come. Because, who's the next time he's going to be around here? These are the guys that, they go on tour every so often. It's not, It's not that frequently.
No, not at all. But so throughout the entire weekend, the 2nd and the 3rd, we actually have Savvy Events. They present their 8th annual holiday craft and vendor show.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be another fun show. If you guys are looking for some last minute gifts, I believe there will be some vendors there for that.
Oh geez, you say last minute? This is first minute. I was about to give an alert like here's your sign to go start Christmas shopping.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay, good.
That being said, I haven't gotten any Christmas gifts, so by saying last minute, nope. Take that back. First minute. I've not gotten any Christmas gifts.
Yeah, not a one.
We take that back. So anyways, if you're starting to look, this is that'll be in our special events center.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. I believe it's free admission too. And then we have a big Sunday this Sunday, and we're so excited. It is our first Broadway show, which is Mean Girls. So that's going to be a great one. It's straight off of Broadway.
Yes. So. If you're a fan of the movie, I know the second one's getting ready to come out. Did you see the commercial for that?
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah, but I know. I think I'm gonna stick around and watch some of that one. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I think that one's gonna be a really good one, and that's gonna be in the theater. And then over in the Coliseum the same night, we have Bert Kreischer, who I am a huge fan of. I think Rob is too.
Bertie boy.
Yeah, we love us some Bert, and that's gonna be a really good one. I'm excited.
You think he's gonna? I was just thinking about this as you were talking. You think he's going to mention Mean Girls? I bet he sees it on the marquee and puts it in his hat.
bet he will. I mean, he's pretty quick with thinking, so I think he will.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 chance of seeing this man's stomach, though, for sure.
Within the first
the name of the tour is Tops Off Tour. So
there was one video that he sent us that they told us we couldn't use because it was so crazy.
Yeah, right.
We won't go further into detail about that, but just know the guy he's
hilarious.
Yeah.
So, and then for the next weekend on December 9th, we have Public Skate. Make sure you guys come out for those. They're a really fun time.
Yeah, great for the family.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Family, friends. I think, I can't remember. Do we sell alcohol at those events?
No,
Sorry, that's random. But
no. It's a good note. Yeah.
One year I went, they did. But regardless, you're going to have a blast. It's really fun to see if you can ice skate, to be honest. So,
yeah. And we have the little things like if you bring your kids where they can hold on to or adults.
Yeah, I was about to say, or if you're an adult and you need a little extra help. So
just hold on to the side.
Yes, that too. And then so the same day, the 9th and the 10th, we actually have the Nutcracker presented by Southwest Virginia Ballet.
Yes.
Super awesome shows. I actually went to those as a kid with my parents.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I grew up actually coming to that show. So that one's going to be a great one.
Yeah, we love having them there. They're such great. Pedro's the best. Just every year they're here, and it's great to have them back again.
Yeah. And then on the 10th, which is the Sunday, we have Ice Bumper Cars, which I believe we might actually be sold out.
I was going to say, put like a big sold out.
Yeah, sold out. But anyways, if you guys are able to get in on that for next year, or if we have any openings, just stay tuned to our social media. We'll post if for some reason we have any extra.
Yeah, or private rentals. You can get a private rental if you have like a kid's birthday party you want.
Yes, that's true. And we have our contact info on our website for that. If you need to call, you can call, I believe, Paige, right?
Yep. Call her up.
Yep. Hit her up for that. And then, so the following Thursday, which is December 14th, we have a Charlie Brown Christmas Live. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Charlie Brown Christmas. So seeing that as a live show looks awesome.
I can't wait for it. I love Charlie Brown.
Yeah, that's going to be a great one. And then we have James Murray. For anyone who does not know, he is one of the Impractical Jokers. He's got the ferret tattoo, right?
Yep.
If I remember correctly. So I don't know.
It.
Yep. So that's going to be a really fun show. I love the Impractical Jokers.
The best.
I surprisingly haven't seen any of them on their solo tours, but I think it's going to be a really fun interactive show. So make sure you grab your tickets for that one. And then next we have Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs versus the Birmingham Bulls. That is their first game home in December. So make sure you guys come out for that one. It's the same night as Murr. And then we have Cirque Dreams Holidays, which is another Broadway and Roanoke show. So, Rob, have you seen any of the Cirque Dreams holiday shows?
I have, yeah. We did one a couple of years ago, but I don't know if it was a holiday one. It was a Cirque Dreams one, but it's so cool. It's like trapeze stuff. It's so much fun, and it's holiday themed this year. So it's a great time. Our Broadway in Roanoke is something that we're really proud of. Bringing like Mean Girls in the beginning of the month, Book of Mormon's coming.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash story, all types of good ones where they're right off of Broadway. Like sometimes I think there's a Mean Girls like advertisement in Times Square still.
Yeah.
Right now. So this is something we work really hard to bring to the Roanoke people because we are supporters of the arts. So make sure you come and support that. And if you're a fan of the arts, it's a great show.
And then on December 23rd, which is Christmas Eve, we have the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs versus the Fayetteville Marksmen. So that's another little holiday hockey game for everybody. And then on December 29th, we have Blackberry Smoke with special guest Robert John and the Wreck. I actually really like Blackberry Smoke, so I think it's going to be a really good show, and that's a great way to kind of start off your New Year's Eve weekend.
Yep. Come down from Christmas, gear back up for New Year's.
Yes, exactly. And then also on December 29th, we have Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs versus Huntsville Havoc. And then on the 30th, we have the same lineup, Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs versus Huntsville Havoc. And then finishing out the month on New Year's Eve, we have Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs versus the Knoxville Ice Bears.
Yeah, for their annual New Year's Eve game.
Yep.
That one starts an hour early, so you could still partake in your New Year's Eve festivities. It's always a party, always a good time. The dogs are red hot this year, keeping the vibes going from the championship run last year. So it's so much fun to come watch them. Even if you're not a hockey fan, you come and you fall in love with the sport.
Oh yeah, I know. Even though I used to work there, I still come to the games as a fan now, just because the New Year's Eve game is so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's packed.
Great.
And yeah,
and you
it's
just
a great
go downtown afterwards and just keep the night going.
Exactly. But so I think that finishes off our segment of the podcast. So we're gonna you guys will see it'll get right into Scott's interview right after us. But yeah, we're excited for 2024. We have some really exciting shows coming up, and we still have a bunch to announce. So stay tuned to our social media and our podcast. And yeah, I'm excited. What about you, Rob? Are you excited for the new year?
Yeah, it's hard I can't believe we're almost to another year. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Excited about Christmas, excited about this podcast. And yeah, thanks. We appreciate you guys listening and checking us out. Like always, if you have any suggestions or anything else you'd want to see, anybody you'd want on, please put it in the comments for us. And we appreciate you guys' support of Berglund Center.
See you guys next month in January, and have a good New Year's. We'll see y'all. Bye.
We're here. We're joined by Scott Stevens. He's the Senior Vice President of Programming for iHeartRadio for Roanoke and the Lynchburg area. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's real nice to be here at Berglund Center. You guys have talked to me about this before. There's a lot of history for me at Berglund Center before I even got into radio.
Oh, really?
My first big concert.
Oh, here we go.
1979. I was 11 years old. And I came here to see the rock band Kiss.
Oh, yes.
I love that.
Yeah, they called it jamboree seating back then, which means basically they opened the doors and people ran up to the stage.
Sounds real safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was hurt, but all I can tell you is we had like a chaperone parent, and there was like 5 or 6 of us kids, and we had to park over where the old post office was at that point. And walk over. And by the time we got up, we were far away from the stage, but what an experience that was for me, and what a memory for me and my friends to be here for our first really big concert outside of going to Lakeside Amusement Park to see music, which is where we used to go.
Yeah. How old did you say you were?
I was 11 at the Kiss concert, and then going into the high school years, a lot of concerts here. Huey Lewis and the News, Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, David Lee Roth. Sorry, I'm confusing my radio people. David Lee Roth and his Eat 'em and Smile tour that was here, which was the loudest concert in America at that point, and I can testify to that. I left there with my ears ringing.
What a claim, the loudest concert in America.
It was at the time. Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, a lot of great memories for me here at Berglund Center, through the years, coming to shows before I was even, being a part of putting on ticket giveaways and being a part of it for the radio. So a lot of great memories.
Yeah, that's awesome. You had a cool chaperone to bring a bunch of 11-year-olds to a Kiss concert.
Yeah, it was great. My dad owned a custom van back then, 70s. Because, with the shag carpet and the open area and table in the back, and she drove that. There may have been 2 adults. It's been a long time ago. But anyway, she drove that, and we all rode down in it, and it was quite the experience. We talked about it for a long time, being here.
I bet. Yeah, everyone goes, what's your first concert? Tiffany, what's yours? Can you remember?
It was actually Hillary Duff here.
There you go. Look at that.
Wow. It's so funny. I feel like a lot of people's first concert was at Berglund Center, so that's kind of a cool thing to claim to fame. What about you, Rob?
Hillary Duff, I love that.
Yeah,
That's a perfect. I think my parents probably dragged me to a Jimmy Buffett concert when I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I wish I had been dragged to that.
Yeah, I know. Dragged is at 5. You're dragged, but I've been willingly many times after that. And to think about the venue too, is on Jones Beach in Long Island, which is always. And I think my dad was telling me it was like a rock star lineup of like James Taylor and Jimmy Buffett, where they just put on where they do one of those shows where they jack up the ticket price and it's like 5 or 6 of them on the ticket.
Oh yeah.
But That's probably my first one, but that's so cool. You guys both here at Berglund Center. That's awesome.
Yeah, I grew up in Christiansburg, so this was our big venue to come to. And like I said, Lakeside Amusement Park, which is before either of you, was the big amusement park in Salem, and they had an outdoor amphitheater.
Yep.
Okay.
So my mom used to come to shows like Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn.
I love that.
That kind of show. And I'd just ride the roller coaster all day, so.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wait, so I got to hear more about this venue. So it had they would do concerts all the time, and it had roller coasters?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lakeside Amusement Park, man, in Salem is historical for this area. I mean, it was it was a huge park. I mean, if you go look up on Facebook the Lakeside Amusement Park memories, you'll see their roller coaster was a wooden roller coaster. It was one of the fastest in America. It was called the Shooting Star, and boy, could it go. It was so fast, and rode that thing. I bet you I rode that thing 100 times in my childhood.
So was it open all the time, and then they just did concerts, or how did
mean, it was mostly summer.
Gotcha.
Because obviously most theme parks are not. I mean, it was a true theme park, and in my child's mind's eye, it was as big as King's Dominion. Of course, it wasn't.
Right.
It was a dozen or so rides. Had bumper cars, had the spider, the tilt-a-whirl. They had a thing that rode around the perimeter of the park, where you're on the suspended on the cables and all that stuff. But very big outdoor venue, covered amphitheater, and some of the biggest names in country music came there.
That's awesome.
And like I said, I wish I could say I was interested. I was not. I just wanted to ride. So me and my friends would ride. My mom and her friends would come see the concerts.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wait. So Tiffany, you knew about this?
Yeah. So that was my mom's first job, actually. Was working there. So I knew about it, and I just think it's funny that my mom sort of worked like at a music venue, and she was like, you're kind of like me. But so it was really cool. Yeah, it was an amphitheater. It's exactly like he said.
That is such a cool venue. You don't really see that anymore. You see it like state fairs where they bring in acts, but not like a standalone one that sits there.
Where you see Kroger in Salem now. And I think, isn't it called the Lakeside Plaza still? I think
yes. Yes. Right
all
near
of that
Red
area.
Sox.
All of that area was Lakeside Amusement Park.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate that. That was a good intro. We know Scott. We work with Scott all the time. He helps us promote our shows, whether we're doing some good giveaways on iHeart so I don't know. How many times we talk a week? Probably at least once or twice.
I mean, there's always email conversation for sure. Hey, we've got this show. Do you want to do a giveaway?
Right.
Yes, let's work on that. Like right now, I've got one sitting in my to-do list for us to work up a promotion for. So, iHeartRadio, our stations, WYYD, which is the station that I'm on the air for regularly, WROV, WJJS, and Steve FM. So many of the acts that you bring here match up to the formats of the radio stations that we have here in the market.
Right.
And even some of them that don't necessarily get played on our FM stations, they're such a part of the iHeartRadio app. So, we're like, we can do that. So
we've had some where it's like, it's not a direct lineup, but we're like, we know people that are listening to ROV may like this person. So let's put it in their earbuds. So, so we, radio is fascinating. It's taken a lot of twists and turns in the future of where we're at. Like you mentioned, the apps. A lot of people are getting their information from there. We have our history with radio. We were just talking, I listen to the radio every morning.
Yeah, me too.
Some of it's, I don't know if it's moving more towards the apps, but it's kind of an interesting thing. So I know you said you might be able to break down some of the history of the radio, maybe in this area, and maybe some of your personal history about it.
Well, I mean, if you think about the history of communications and media, as we call it now in general, and how that's changed through the years, I mean, the printing press was invented in the 1400s.
Yeah.
Right? So it pretty much stayed the same for 400 years. That was the main way we communicated until the 1800s when Samuel Morse invented the telegraph. And the telegraph and his code, Morse codes, dots and dashes. And,
I love that.
And then it was about another 50 years till radio was invented, Marconi, but he didn't invent it thinking of radio the way we think of it today. He thought about it from the telegraph standpoint. The old telegraph, you had to have wires connected to be able to use the telegraph.
Okay.
He was like, the electromagnetism that had been discovered years before, what if there's a way to use that to make our telegraph work across larger distances, even thousands of miles?
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, over time, and I don't want to get too weedy, but I mean, I love talking about how that developed into radio. Mass media, like I said, was the printing press, then it was the telegraph, then it was radio, then it was television, newspapers, telephones. And then, of course, now we have the internet, digital, as we know it now, and that has impacted everything, some more than others. I mean, newspapers. When I was younger, I had a Roanoke Times route.
Right.
And then I had a Roanoke Times motor route delivering hundreds of papers. And
a motor route?
Yeah. So, like, in my car, every morning at 4 a.m.
Oh, my goodness.
For about 5 years, 7 days a week, I was delivering newspapers. I mean, Sunday paper, my car was to the bumper. The bumper was, like, to the ground.
Oh, my God.
You know, and now... that kind of, I mean, the Roanoke Times still exists, but it's mostly in the digital form, right? And so many newspapers have kind of gone away or gone digital. The ones that embraced the internet are still around. The ones that kept trying to compete with the internet, not so much.
Right.
But radio and television, and radio in particular, I mean, we show somewhere around 80 to 90% of Americans interact with AM and FM radio every week.
Wow.
And of people that listen to both radio and streaming, about 70% of their listening is listening to AM and FM radio. So
wow.
I think that
Okay.
terrestrial radio, as we call it, has survived the digital age.
Right.
And those that embraced it, such as my company and others, iHeartRadio, we have the iHeartRadio app and all of that. It seems to be working hand in hand. AM and FM is still in cars, although we've heard in the news recently that some people have proposed to take AM out of cars.
Really?
Ford talked about it for a minute,
Why?
and then people really threw a fit.
Yeah.
Not just those of us in radio,
Right.
but people who depend on AM radio in big markets. Not so much ours. I mean, we're mostly an FM market. Even our AM stations are on FM translators. But when you start talking about the major markets, New York, LA, Chicago, all that, some of the biggest radio stations in those
Yeah, the
markets
talk radio
Or
station.
AM, yeah.
Yeah, so that went away, and Ford's like, okay, we'll keep it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It almost seems like we're going back. Like with those stats, they're surprising, but it's not really that surprising because with like the format of things we're on, like podcasts are almost like old like radio shows. Like when you think about like it's the holiday season and you think about like the movie The Christmas Story, the one that comes on and he's huddled by the radio listening to what's the show? Is it? Was it Shirley Temple or something like that?
I mean, it was old time. It was in the golden age of radio. It was what we call TV now. It was their entertainment.
Yep.
You have some video forms, but like I listen to my podcast without it. So you're essentially listening to the radio again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird how, it's kind of a circle motion and, podcasts and things like that almost remind me of the old like radio shows that you would listen to and imagine with your mind and things like that.
Sure. I mean, listen, I'm a huge supporter of podcasts. iHeartRadio is the largest, I'm not bragging, we're the largest distributor of podcasts in America. We've got, you want a podcast, you're going to find it most likely on the iHeartRadio app.
Right.
Find it. So you can find your radio stations, you can find your music channels that you create and your podcast all in one app. But huge supporter of podcasts, and not a lot of them have the advantage of video. So I like what you guys are doing here, incorporating video. I know there's a few others out there that incorporate video, or if nothing else, just shows the video of them sitting around talking.
Right. Right.
I think for me, when I'm listening to a podcast, like if I'm walking or if I'm at the gym or whatever, that's when I got my buds in and I'm listening to a podcast. And I'm mostly listening. I'll listen for entertainment sometimes, but I mostly listen like to learn how to do something or learn how something
Yeah, those
works.
are great.
Yeah.
It's you can pretty much learn whatever you want now. There's not really an excuse to not know something.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit, like you said you had a paper route. How long have you been with in the radio? And tell us a little bit about your history.
Well, this month, believe it or not, that we're sitting here is 34 years of radio for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I started when I was 6. No. I actually of working in radio, but it kind of started before that for me. You mentioned some of the local radio. Me and all my friends were sitting around the radio New Year's Eve, 1979, going into 1980, because we knew there was a new FM radio station coming. I don't work for it, and I'm going to mention them. It's K92. We didn't have an FM pop station in this market prior to that.
Wow.
In fact, the call letters of K92 back then was WLRJ. It was owned by Lee Hartman and Sons. If you didn't know that.
Wow, no, I
didn't know that at all.
Standalone, lower wattage back then. It was fine music. And they...
I love that.
Fine music. And it stood for Large Radio, Always Beautiful. And you know what? For FM radio, most of them that were on the air back then were like easy listening, or what we would call elevator music.
Right.
94.9, which is now Star Country, back then was WPVR, easy listening. Every dentist office and doctor's office in Virginia in range of that signal, that's what was on. It was just easy listening, elevator music,
right?
Yeah,
all day. And it went through changes, of course, through the years of ownership and format, and was oldies for a while before it became what it is now. But so before I even got into radio, I was kind of a radio nut. I mean, I loved radio, and I used to call into the radio station. A local radio legend named Larry Dowdy and the K Crew in the Morning. They had a morning show that I listened to all the time. But because I was a theater kid in high school, Larry would put it out there that he wanted somebody to call for some reason. So back then, again, showing my age, I'd stop at a payphone and I'd call the toll-free number, and I would be a character of some kind.
No way.
On his radio.
That's really cool.
Yeah, as a teenager, and especially when I was delivering newspapers, as I mentioned, because I'm driving around, I'd pull into a payphone, I'd call in, I'd do this bit with him.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. You just take your lunch break and you're like, I'm going to go do this real quick.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
It was, to me, it was as close as I could get to theater without being in theater full time. But
do you remember some of the characters?
There was a news. Mostly, it was just a voice. Like I can tell you one thing for sure that got a lot of talk for a lot of years. There was a time when Roseanne Barr was doing the national anthem at a baseball game.
At the Cubs game.
Yeah, and it was terrible.
It's so bad.
Of course, and Larry wanted somebody to call in and then there was talk about, I guess she and Tom Arnold used to moon people.
Oh my God.
That doesn't surprise me.
So Larry said, why doesn't somebody call in and moon us on the air?
Oh my God.
And I was like, how do you do that on the radio? But I did it, and I was like, hey, it's me, and I want to moon everybody on the air just like Roseanne does. And and he said, okay, go ahead whenever you're, all right, here we go. I'm loosening the buckle. There goes the button. I'm turning around, and there it is.
Oh, my God.
And, of course, his whole team was like, oh, no, put it away.
Oh, my goodness.
So funny.
And I think he ended it with, I was like, and that's a pretty big moon, too, because I weigh about 250, Larry.
Oh, my God.
And that's how it ended. And for years, I would see him, talk to him. But, yeah, I would just do voices and just different things. Like, if you listen to the radio to K92 in the middle 80s, the K Crew in the Morning, and you heard those voices, I was several of them, just characters people to play.
Really
so
cool.
I loved it. So, I graduated from high school in 87, and a friend of mine, Andy, a good friend of mine, got into radio, and he was like, hey, we got a part-time position down here open. I was like, really? Yeah, I want to try that. So I was hired in 1989 at what is now Q99 and WSLC AM.
Okay.
Worked there for a couple of years and then moved to a country station up in the New River Valley. 1993, I moved to Rome, Georgia. Worked for a Metro Atlanta radio station, big country station called South 107, Georgia's official country music station.
Did you move there for the job?
I moved there. No, I moved. Well, yes and no. I got married.
Okay.
And she had a job there.
Oh, okay. So
and then I got a job
there.
But,
Gotcha.
Moved back to Virginia during the time of radio consolidation.
Okay.
Which is when, it used to be standalone, 1 FM and 1 AM is all you were allowed in a town. Then consolidation, which of course saved a lot of radio stations, is where they grouped up into groupings like what I work for now. So
Gotcha.
moved back for that and worked in the New River Valley again until 2014 and been with iHeartRadio ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I've covered a lot of jobs, a lot of roles. Country radio primarily for my air talent. Good bit of classic rock, a little bit of news talk. After the 9/11 attacks, I was moved into a morning show that was for News Talk.
Oh, wow.
That's just where we were. You know, it was an AM and FM News Talk station, and I hosted a morning show called First Thing in the Morning for several years, and then eventually moved back into music radio.
Wow, that must have been a little bit of a tough space to navigate.
It was. It required a lot more work.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
informed. You don't want to come off like you don't know what you're talking about.
I can prepare for my afternoon shift on WYYD in about 45 minutes.
Right.
You know, I've got some what's going on in country, what's going on in the world in general. I do some stories that I call blog posts, just like things that I find entertaining. Those are the things I talk about. Like I said, I'm ready for that in about 45 minutes, and then, you know, I'm on the air.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, News Talk, you got to not only read all the news wires, you got to be on the weekends watching Meet the Press, or as the great Rush Limbaugh used to call it, Meet the Depressed. You know, watching that while you're recording the other one on the other network, and then go back and watch that, you know, because you had to know everything that was going on in the world of news and politics.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was good, though. It was good to help me with my verbal skills and
That's
being
true.
able to talk for 3 hours, you know, and sometimes people wouldn't call.
Yeah.
You know, you depended on those callers to call in and give their opinion and spark conversation, and sometimes they just were not picking up the phone. So you had to have 3 hours of material.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, it's between news, politics, sports, weather, local happenings, all of that stuff. You had to be able to just continue to go. And sometimes I had a co-host, the late Ron Walton, who was my boss for many years, who owned the radio stations essentially. He was on the air with me for a couple of those years, which made it a lot easier to have, you know, point counterpoint.
Yeah, have somebody else to take up
Yeah.
airspace.
Yeah, but the rest of the time it was just me and my producer, and the producer didn't talk very much. So
Wow.
you got to talk. You got to know what you're going to talk.
Gotta
yeah.
fill the space. Yeah, I was those one-man podcasts that you see. I think Bill Burr has one where I just don't know how you just fill that kind of space. But I guess if you're prepared and you have the material, it kind of just goes through that. But I could definitely see why that would be challenging, especially on
Yeah.
a subject that's that serious.
Yeah, but I mean, back to what you first asked. I mean, the Roanoke Radio, those stations. I mean, there's David Lee. You guys know David Lee. You've worked with him a
Right.
lot. Eddie Haskell. Gosh, some of the names you'll know and some of them you won't. I mentioned Larry Dowdy. I wrote some of the names on here, but they probably don't necessarily mean anything to you. But Bart Prater.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I was a huge fan of Bart, Cat Thomas, Sonny Joe Stevens. Some of these guys went on to be major market personalities. Blair Carter was one of them. Jeffrey T. Mason. Just so many amazing talents. And like I said, for some reason, I was just so into radio. I was the guy who turned down the radio when the music was playing and turned it up.
Yeah, when people were talking.
And of course, at night, I lived near a railroad. Part of what got me into it, I think, is my grandfather had given me this old radio that was able to pick up like all the bands, the AM, the shortwave radio, and all of that stuff. And I lived near some railroad tracks, and I learned that I could sit in my yard and point the antennas there. And at night, I'd listen to like WLS out of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It'd pick up all the way over there.
Oh, yes. AM radio,
Wow.
amplitude modulation. At night, the clear channel stations, the ones that are high wattage and don't have to reduce their power at night, yeah, they travel all over the
insane.
country.
That's wild.
And you
Yeah.
can still get them. If you're ever out late at night, you know, in your car even, and you hit scan on your AM dial, you'll hit some of those stations. WLS, WCBS in New York. You said you were from the New York area,
Yes.
right? Yeah, there are AM stations all over the place that get down here. I used to know all the call letters, but I've kind of been out of that for a while.
Yeah.
But even today, late at night, you can scan and catch some of those long-distance, high-powered AM
That's
radio
so
stations.
interesting.
Yeah, that's what made me fall in love with the way. And then, of course, the golden age of radio from 19 30s, 40s, hearing, George Burns and Gracie and
Right.
all those great shows that I've used to have on tape that you can now hear on the internet for free. Old time radio programs and dramas and War of the Worlds. If you ever get the chance to hear the original broadcast of Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, you should listen to it.
Really?
That scared the crap out of people at the time. They really thought we were being invaded. I mean,
Wow.
it was with aliens. They thought the War of the Worlds was real. They thought it was a real newscast on
my God.
Halloween Eve. Yeah, I forget the year. But
So they didn't give anybody a heads up? They just went for it?
oh, yeah, they had places where they were identifying that it was a radio show, theatrical production.
Gotcha.
But if you think about how you joined the
yeah,
radio.
you're just flipping
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
And you join it at the right time, and you're hearing these military reports and all these things about these aliens that are
my
blasting
gosh.
things. Yeah, if you ever get the chance to hear the original
Yeah, I
Orson
have to
Welles'
check
War of the
that
Worlds,
out.
you should.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, being in radio that long, you must have some cool stories about some people you've met along the way.
Oh my gosh, I've been so fortunate to meet so many artists through the years, from meeting people at fairs, like little small events like the New River Valley Fair when I was working up there. I met Toby Keith right after his first single, Should Have Been a Cowboy, was #1.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
on his come up.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you want to feel old. I drive around sometimes and I hear some of these country stations that plays classic country, and these were songs that I played when they were brand new songs.
man.
Oh my gosh.
When nobody knew who Toby Keith was. That was my first year in radio, and I was playing it.
Yeah, we were talking about that with Clint Black, right?
Yeah.
The one that you were working on. You said you played him when he was a new.
I played him when he was brand new. I mean,
Yeah.
I went into country radio in 1990. So, Garth, Alan Jackson, all of those guys, that was their time to come up. Yeah, I've met a lot of them. Some of them were nice. Some of them were just, kind of matter of fact. They did what they had to do and moved on. The nicest and the best story I have was Garth Brooks.
Oh.
When I was working in Georgia in 1995, so that was in his peak.
Okay.
The Omni in Atlanta. Our radio station that was, like I said, Metro Atlanta, just north Rome, we were allowed to bring some winners back to meet Garth. So it was like a grand prize meet and greet.
Okay.
So we gave away a lot of tickets, and we were back there, myself, the morning show from the station, because I was afternoons at the time. We were there, and there was a meet and greet where they do the photos and all of that stuff that you normally have with the meet and greet. So, he was nice and everything, and met our listeners and all of that, which was my biggest concern. Whenever I've had meet and greets to give to a listener and I get to go to, my thing is my listeners having a great time.
Right.
That's what's important to me. I mean, yeah, if I can meet them and get a picture, great. Even better if I can get them to say some things into a microphone, like my name or the name of the station. But it's all about the listeners. So it was a good meet and greet.
That's awesome.
And so he goes out, and then a few minutes later, this guy comes around the corner, and I notice he was with Garth's manager, who had just been there a few minutes ago. And he's wearing a ball cap and like a T-shirt or something. And he walks over a little bit closer, and we all realize that's Garth again. He's like, guys, I got comfortable. I don't have to get into my outfit for I've got 30 minutes. Can we just sit down and talk or something?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, yeah, so we all sat in the little green room area there, and it wasn't about Garth. It was about Garth asking us about our, he was asking me my story. So I heard you say earlier you're not originally from Georgia. Where are you from? I said, well, I'm from Christiansburg, Virginia, which is near Roanoke. He goes, oh yeah, I'm playing Roanoke. He's playing, knows that he's playing there.
Yeah,
goes,
right.
Now, isn't that where Virginia Tech is? And I was like, yeah, right next door. And he's like, he asks us all these questions about us.
Wow.
He's the superstar, and he wants to know about us.
You don't normally see that. It's very procedural and shake your hand.
Yes.
How's it going? Picture.
Here's your picture.
See you later.
Go on.
Right.
And he, somebody on my staff mentioned that I sing. because at the time then I sang a lot, not so much anymore. But he was like, "You sing? What do you?" I was like, "No, mostly choir singing." He goes, "Hey, that's the hardest kind, you know." And I was like, "No, what you do is a little harder." Yeah. But yes, it's just so polite and so inquisitive about us.
Gosh.
You know, so what you've seen on TV, and then of course, then there's the alter ego thing that he does. I mean,
I was going to mention that. That was a little out there, huh?
yeah, it's a little wacky, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's Garth Brooks. If he wants to be theatrical and have a, you know, the funniest thing about that was when he hosted Saturday Night Live, and
What was his
Chris
name again?
Gaines,
Chris Gaines, yeah.
Chris Gaines was the musical guest, and they actually billed it as two different people, and they even had pre-recorded Garth in front of a green screen introducing Chris Gaines when he performed, and it looked real. It's like they zoomed away from him, and there he is as Chris Gaines on the stage. Super weird. It wouldn't have been so weird. The plan was to make a movie about the life of Chris Gaines.
Right. Yeah.
So he recorded that whole album. Then there was going to be the movie. Okay, you know, it was a character, but then it got weird when the movie didn't happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
didn't like 9/11 happen and they decided not to put it out or something? There's
You know-
some story about that where they had it and like some tragedy happened or something.
I don't think they ever actually filmed it. I think
Okay,
they did
maybe
some.
I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, but supposedly he has a whole other album coming out.
I heard that.
in the life of Chris Gaines.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like when you're crushing it for so long, selling out stadiums. I'm with you. It was a little weird, but like he probably got a little bored and wanted to
Yeah,
try
that's
something
what I was.
else.
I bought the album, and there's
Yeah.
a couple of songs on there that are classic. And then when that Kiss tribute album came out, he was a huge Kiss fan.
Oh yeah.
Which is part of his theatrics. You know, he loved Kiss. When that Kiss tribute album came out, he did "Hard Luck Woman," which is one of my favorite Kiss songs, and it sounded just like Kiss doing the song.
Crushed it.
Yeah, it was amazing, you know. And I mean,
so
he's
talented.
And of course, if you saw him in concert with the swinging on the ropes and, you know, the Billy Joel songs, the Kiss songs, all the things that he did, I mean, he was country. There was no doubt he was pure country. You couldn't deny that when you hear him.
Right.
But he also was influenced by so many styles of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what gave him so much mass appeal. Like, I don't know if I consider myself the biggest country fan, but Garth Brooks is the best. I mean, you could listen to his music no matter what kind of music you like, and you're going to absolutely love it.
We got some pretty good artists right now. You got to listen to Morgan Wallen. Have you heard Morgan Wallen?
Yes, yeah. He's probably like him and Luke Combs, probably number one and number two.
Yeah, Luke Combs, and then there's new artists Bailey Zimmerman, Warren Ziders. There are some amazing new artists, and Lainey Wilson.
Yeah, she's going crazy on TikTok. I see her all the time on there.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
She was an iHeart Country, what we call on the Verge artist.
Yeah.
That's where our company like sees somebody rising. And it was a few years ago. She was on the Verge artist, and I just loved hearing her talk. Hi, I'm Lainey Wilson. Thank you, iHeart, for making me an On the Verge artist. And I was like, I fell in love with her in that moment.
Yeah.
What do you think about what is it, Anthony Oliver, that guy that had that one huge song?
I mean, he's got a great voice, and I've heard that he's starting to embrace the fame a little bit.
I saw maybe a tour, right?
Yeah, he was pushing away for a while, but I would love to hear him with a full band, a real band. And,
Right.
You know, if he wrote that one song in protest, I'd like to hear some of the other things that he wrote.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a passion.
Right. That's the one thing you could feel in that song. Right?
I'm a sucker for good songwriters. I
Right.
love most of my favorite artists are also great songwriters. Garth's not a good example. Garth hadn't really written a lot of his hits.
Right.
But the best artists to me have always been the great songwriters. I love going to Nashville or to Memphis when we're doing something for St. Jude and meeting songwriters. There's one named Jeffrey Steele who used to write a lot of songs for Rascal Flatts, Montgomery Gentry, several others. And he was in a band called Boy Howdy that had a hit for a minute in the 90s. But he kind of stepped away from that and just wrote songs. And I got to hear him perform one of the songs he wrote, My Wish, which was a number one hit for Rascal Flatts. hearing his story that he wrote that for his daughter who was about to graduate high school, and you know how he wrote that, and then
Beautiful.
Rascal Flatts picked it up. Yeah, I'm a sucker for good songwriters, and most of the artists I mentioned, you know, like Laney and Warren and all of these guys, they're great songwriters.
Yeah, Tiffany, who'd you go see at JPJ? Zach Bryan?
Oh, so I love like Zach Bryan. I love Warren. I love Bailey.
Zach's a big songwriter, right? He fits in kind of that category.
Yeah, and it cuts you right to the core. Let me tell you.
and they're all in that same grouping of, you know, there's kind of a, people have said the last couple of years, and we're seeing it in ratings. I mean, if you look at Roanoke Radio, two of the, how many markets do you know of where two of the biggest radio signals are both country? It's not very often for a city of this size.
Right.
So I've got YYD, Star Country, Brett and the guys across the street. And if you add up our ratings, our two stations together, nobody else in the market even comes close to the number of listeners. So country music in this market is huge. And we see it with the acts you guys book.
Right.
I mean, you know, the biggest shows typically are country music.
Right.
So we see that this new group of country radio, country artists who are not only embracing, you know, streaming, Spotify, iHeartRadio app, all of that, but also terrestrial radio and getting out there and meeting people and playing shows like at Berglund Center. They're the ones that are really tearing it up right now.
Yeah, country music's kind of having a moment right now. They're bleeding into like, you hear them on the hit stations, like Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs are going on there a little bit, I feel like.
I've been known to make some comments on the air, like like if I hear one of those songs on the air on K92, I get on the air and say, hey, I want to tell K92 we're happy to loan you an artist since the rest of your music is so bad right now. You got to borrow. We poke at each other. We're all friends. But I do pick on pop radio a lot. When country music gets hot, all of a sudden you start hearing those songs on their radio.
Right, yeah, we'll let you have them for this
you can,
song, but we want them
borrow them. Yeah. I look at that the same way Garth Brooks used to say this. When people would fuss about his songs being played on pop radio, he would tell us, look, this is an advertisement for country radio. Yeah. They hear one of my songs or a country song on a pop station, they know they got to go to country radio to hear more.
Yeah. There we go. I love that.
I embrace that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep. Well, Scott, is there anything else we missed? Anything you else wanted to touch on? We appreciate you coming by.
Well, I was going to say, I actually have a question.
Oh, yeah. Tiffany, what's up?
If you had to pick what your favorite thing about being on radio is, out of all these years that you've worked on radio, what would you say is your favorite thing? I know it's a very hard choice, but if you had to pick.
My favorite thing is the listeners. I mean, getting to meet the listeners through the years. A number of years, I did morning radio. And listen, I know morning radio is number one. I get that. Now I'm in afternoons. We have the Bobby Bones show. The morning shows are established. And I'm, getting to a position in my job where I don't have the time it's required to do a live morning show. Not that Brett should either, but he does somehow. But anyway, so that's when I met the most people through the years and got to know them and got to know their story. But if I have to narrow it down to one thing, it's got to be the charitable work.
Yeah.
You guys do a lot for charity.
Yeah, I mean, we have a platform where we can. I've been fortunate to work with St. Jude Children's Hospital since 2001, doing radiothons and fundraising through Country Cares, which was started by Randy Owen of Alabama. So continue to do that, and multiple other charities. Toys for Tots. Love working with the U.S. Marine Reserve on that. We got our big collection going right now. We need toys.
Yeah, I was going to say, how can the people get involved with some of the stuff you guys got going on?
On our website, we have a list of every location in Roanoke and Lynchburg where you can drop off a new unwrapped toy.
Okay, what's the name of the website?
newcountry1079.com.
Okay.
Or rovrocks.com. Those are two of them, but any of our four stations' websites.
Toys for Tots is such a great cause.
It is.
We need people to get involved in it. There's so many people that are less fortunate that need some help during this time.
No doubt. And then probably my biggest passion project in the last decade. I got involved with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Okay.
I've lost some friends to suicide, and I myself have fought suicidal ideations at one time. But I found the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and started working with them on their Out of the Darkness walk, first in Lynchburg and now in Lynchburg and Roanoke.
That's awesome.
And fast forward 7 years, I'm now on the state board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and their work, our work, has brought along things like the 988 phone number, suicide prevention. It used to be this really long toll-free number. Now, anywhere in America, you can dial 988.
Oh, okay.
There's a person on
That's
the other end of the
awesome.
line, and you can, have somebody to talk to. So, yeah. Charity, being able to be a part of bike drives, coats drives, shoes drives, toy drives, fundraising for St. Jude, and on and on and on.
Oh,
That's been the best part of being in radio for 34 years.
Yeah.
No
I
doubt.
love that.
Yeah, me too. That's great that you do that work. And I know growing up, I remember hearing you on the radio, and I know we knew each other before I was at this job too. So I knew about everything that you did with that.
It's just great to hear your story to come from somebody that used to love radio and sticking with it and following your dreams. Sometimes people lose sight of it, and seeing living proof that if you love something, you could stick with it and do it for your career. It's awesome to see, Scott. So thanks for joining us and giving us some info about radio. It's such an interesting topic right now with everything going on, and we loved hearing your stories.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to be embracing the digital side of radio now, and know that AM and FM is still a big part of people's everyday lives. So
It is.
I really appreciate the opportunity and you guys having me on here.
Yeah.
All
of
right,
course.
awesome. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.